Welcome back to Sound HR episode 8. I'm Tania Harland, founder of HR Diagnostics. Today we're talking about something most HR consultants don't get taught: how to actually build a commercially successful consultancy business. Because being great at HR isn't the same as building a business. Today I am so excited to be joined by Sam Eaton, who spent nearly 25 years helping HR consultants actually build successful, thriving businesses. She's helped scale companies from 650,000 to 14 million, and she supported over 240 consultants to go from 0 clients to real momentum. She's also the author of The Trouble with Pink Wheelbarrows and also a host of MindAbility Matters. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast, Sam.
Well, good morning, Tania. It's lovely to be here.
So I know from personal experience, it's hard setting up your consultancy business, and it's even harder to grow it. So I just wanted to start really with the truth. What is the biggest mistake you see HR consultants making when they try to scale their consultancy business?
I think the biggest mistake is actually the most obvious one, in that no one's taught them how to sell. They've all spent years in a corporate environment. They know how to run P&L, and now they feel they've got to go out and sell themselves. So a lot of them will make the excuse of, I need to do a brochure, I need to do a website, or I need to do this. And the first thing they need to do is learn how to sell.
Yeah.
You don't need a fancy website. You don't need someone who's going to produce a brochure that you're going to change yourself in 3 months' time. Learn how to sell. And the art of that is actually understanding you're being curious and trying to identify where you can best add value rather than selling itself.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think naturally as HR consultants, we're not good at selling, and we don't associate ourselves as salespeople. And I can relate to that. I always think it's about solution selling. If I can see that there's a problem and I know I can solve that problem, it's a lot easier to make that sale. Okay, so why do so many stay stuck in busy but not scaling?
That's a great question. I also think that goes back to what I was saying earlier about busyness can also be avoiding what needs to be done, which is
Yeah.
going out there, connecting with your ideal clients, finding who you want to work with, going to the networking events. Staying stuck in busy is actually a subconscious choice.
Yeah. Oh God, I can agree. I can totally relate to that. Yeah, I'd rather be doing this shiny thing over there than something that makes us feel a little bit uncomfortable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Awesome. So before we get into the different models and strategies of like when it comes to, building a business, I just want to pause on something that you talk about a lot, which is about building a business your way. But what does that actually look like in practice?
Again, I think when I look at my field as a business coach these days, do I still sell? Yes, I do. But, we're selling the bigger ticket HR consultancy services. What I mean by that is there's so many systems and processes. So you've got an HR consultant who's come out of corporate. They're having to really redefine themselves. Who am I now? What does my day look like? And someone will come along and say to them, you have to, you must, you should. And my take on this is, no, you don't, actually.
Yeah.
You don't should do this. Terrible English, I know. But my point here is, if you really understand what you loved about your corporate career or working in larger organizations and the outcomes you were able to get, that is when you start to build a successful business on your terms.
Yeah. And I was on your pitch event last week, which was brilliant. And I think one of the takeaways that I had was about kind of the tracking of what do you do in a day? Because it can be so easy to kind of get distracted, and you do need to be so organized and disciplined and understand, well, where does my time go? Because your time is precious.
Absolutely.
So what different models do you see working? So I'm thinking lifestyle, scale, niche.
I think for me, the main one that we coach on is how to sell value rather than selling time. And that's the key model for us, that we really want to help all the consultants we work with to get to that point. And the reason why that's so important is they're no longer selling time. And Tania, you made a great point, right? There's only so much time that we have in our day anyway. So being able to embrace that model in key areas of our business and productize across key areas of our business means that we can increase our margins. We need less clients, but the clients we have are quality.
Mm.
So that's the main model that we sell there. Is lifestyle important? Of course it is, which is why one of the things we always start off with is, what are your goals?
Mm.
And they can be anything from, I want to replace a kitchen. We've had someone who's, I want 5 holidays a year. Single mums who've got to put their children through university, both in the UK and the US, either continent, that's expensive.
Mm.
So lifestyle's a huge part of it, but that value piece in key areas of your business will fundamentally change your business and create a much more self-sustaining and efficient model.
Really sound advice. I think you're right. You've got to look at your own personal goals, haven't you, first?
Yes.
From that then comes like, right, well, what does my business look like and where do I want to go with it? And it's such an exciting thing, it's such an exciting journey. But I do think fundamentally it has to be about where you are in your life right now and also, yeah, what your goals are and long terms. When it comes to obviously doing business your way, how do consultants stop kind of copying what other people do, other consultants do, and build themselves something commercially aligned to them and their values and their lifestyle?
I think a lot of the time, what we're building has already been done. I'd almost flip it on its head, Tanya, and say, take the great parts of other people's businesses that you've seen, and how can you incorporate that into your business? Again, going back to that whole lifestyle piece, how many hours a week do you want to work? That will then allow you to, as I said earlier, take the good bits from your corporate or larger company days and the outcomes you got there. How does that fit into your lifestyle to be able to then take some of those good bits and build on your own terms?
Yeah, yeah, totally agree. Okay. So just want to touch on something going back to kind of like the differences of, being an HR consultant and then suddenly you're like a CFO and you're like a salesperson and you've got staff and, all those other skills and attributes that you need to have. So this is the point so many consultants don't see coming. They've thought this would be such an exciting opportunity to leave the corporate world. I've got enough experience and knowledge to be able to do this on my own. But running a consultancy isn't just about doing HR. It requires a totally different way of thinking entirely. So in your experience, what mindset shift is needed to step into being an actual business owner, not just an HR expert?
And this is one of the biggest problems that we see at the beginning. And that is actually so many of the consultants going out and actually labeling themselves as an HR consultant, rather than recognizing the fact that they are now equal to their clients because they're also business owners. And actually, when they embrace their experience, their expertise, everything that they've been through, and the fabulous, fabulous work they've delivered, that will then help them to shift that mindset to, I've earned the right to call myself a business owner, rather than, gosh, I feel an imposter in these
Mm.
shoes.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think, people do really struggle with most of all, and to be honest, this isn't just when they're starting out. I think this is something that is always kind of an ongoing debate, is, about pricing and positioning. So in your view, where do people go wrong when it comes to pricing and positioning?
Generic thing that we see across most early stage HR consultants is underpricing.
Yeah.
That real fear of, gosh, am I asking for too much money here? Rather than look at the outcome that this work will get. There's another piece here, which is it's learning a new skill. So I'm absolutely fine with consultants in their first few sales underselling, because they're learning that skill and gaining confidence.
Yeah.
And as long as thereafter they're stretching, then they're building their confidence and they're seeing those margins increase. So first and foremost, it's always the underpricing piece.
Yeah, I can relate to that. And you did mention earlier about those kind of quality clients, that those ones that are like low maintenance, don't require so much time. Those are the valuable ones. Those are the ones actually where you can afford to take on better quality work.
Exactly. And those who recognize the value, and Tanya, they're going to be some that will take up a lot of time
Mm.
because they're leaning into the support that you can give.
Yeah. It's a balance, isn't it, really? Because at the end of the day, you're
Absolutely.
there to provide that support. You're there to kind of give them that reassurance and that peace of mind, credible advisor. But at the same time, it's from your perspective as a consultant, you've got to remember that you're there to run a business, and obviously it's got to work for you as well. Brilliant. Okay, so I want to talk about what actually drives growth. So, from your perspective, what are the core things that actually move the needle in an HR consultancy?
The core things for me that will move that needle are really building productive referral relationships. And
Mm,
by productive, I mean partners who will regularly give you good quality leads because they understand that the work that you deliver.
mm,
So a great referral partner is typically someone that complements what you do. It can be a financial advisor, an accountant, an employment lawyer, a payroll provider, a benefit broker, but they're already working with the kind of clients you want to and
yeah.
are open to giving you referrals. That's one key way to build a business fast. If you can crack the LinkedIn code, and again, we support our clients doing that, that's a
Oh, okay.
huge source of marketing
Yeah.
and leads.
Yeah.
So, you can quickly go from marketing to sales if you get that piece right. And last and by no means least is just getting out there to the right events.
Yeah.
So again, we work with our clients on a blend of helping them to get keynotes,
Mm.
and speaking opportunity at events, and also attending the right kind of events where their clients are going to attend.
That's really key. Yeah. Three really good points there. I'm learning so much from you, Sam. I love this, particularly the LinkedIn one. That one is, an interesting one, isn't it? I just think
Yeah,
it's got harder to get your voice out there, hasn't it? There's a lot of noise, and it's difficult. Even if you do know you're really clear on what your USP is and what your target audience is, LinkedIn is a funny one. So that's an interesting point. How important is it moving beyond time for money? So we've talked about value, so looking into products, frameworks, scalable services.
I think it's exceptionally important. And the reason being is there's only a finite amount of time per week. And if you look at a quarter is consistent of 13 weeks.
Yeah,
Of those 13 weeks, we probably work 11 between holidays, life, and the need to really build value and understand that and productize key areas of your business means it's scalable.
yeah,
So, I'm going to exaggerate for effect. It might mean you can do 2 handbooks in a day because you've been able to productize it and standardize it in such a way that
yeah,
you're still adding value to a client. They still get the personal elements they require
yeah,
for their company today and their growth. But can you imagine if you get to that point that you're selling 2 of those in a day
yeah.
with minimal impact?
Oh my God, that would be amazing. Yeah, it's a bit like with training, isn't it? If you write a training course, so let's say a manager's training course on employment law or whatever topic, it's about it takes a lot of time to write that. But then, it's then about going, right, I've written it for this client. Actually, who else can I sell it to? Who else can I deliver this specific training to? So not making it bespoke, but delivering that off the shelf training. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Okay. So I have a real interest in how employment law works in the US. And I think you know that because I always ask you every single time. I'm
Yeah.
always interested in anything you've got to say about your US experience. So it's a different world compared to the UK. And I think that contrast really highlights how differently HR consultants grow their business in each market. So I'd like to kind of know, what are the key differences between UK and US HR consultancy businesses? And I'm not thinking so much employment law specific, but more about behaviors, about mindsets, about how they productize or grow their businesses.
I think a lot of the time the mindset and that productization is the same. The key difference is the American market understands networking. So when I working with an HR consultant in the States, they are probably going to 2 to 3 networking events a week. And I think that is the difference. It's harder to find in some areas those events, but I think we rely too heavily on our own networks here and we just don't get out enough. That's the key to LinkedIn. If you live in a quiet area where there isn't that opportunity, what else can you do? Where are the virtual networking events that you can attend?
Mm.
What are those kind of things that you can jump on a daily basis? or frequently throughout the week.
Yeah.
That's the key difference. The mindset challenges, they're all still there. We're all human beings.
Mm.
When we go through big changes, that rewiring process is scary.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And do you think US consultants approach pricing and selling differently than in the UK?
I think they're less fearful of asking their worth,
Mm.
and they learn far quicker. That's a big difference I see.
Yeah. And so what can UK HR consultants learn from that without losing their own style? So, because I remember you saying at the pitch club, like US consultants, hourly rate is significantly higher typically on average. And obviously, this, we haven't got the data behind that, but, generally they charge more than the UK consultants do per hour or whatever. So what is it that the UK consultants can learn from that without losing their own style?
And I'm going to be a bit brutal here, and that is just stop participating in the race to the bottom. I've had consultants who've come up to me and said things like, "Oh, great, we are really getting there. After 3 or 4 years, we've turned over 60,000." That's your turnover.
Yeah.
That is not your profit. So really understanding that this is a business and really, really appreciating their worth. Yes, we're in a dire situation from an economy perspective.
Mm,
So I also do respect that and take that into account as well. But there is a point where we need to say no to clients that
mm.
simply won't pay our worth.
Just to add to that, the UK employment law is so complex. I mean, when you think of,
Yeah.
TUPE, tribunal exposure, unfair dismissals, it means UK consultants arguably have more advisory value to offer than they realise. And that risk landscape here is more complex than the
Yeah.
US. So that's a huge commercial opportunity for UK consultants to tap into. It's a really interesting kind of debate to have.
It's an interesting time to be an HR consultant in the
Mm,
UK. And
mm.
it's a massive opportunity to earn just as much as those in the States.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. I love talking to you about that topic, and we must continue that another day. But just to kind of round up our amazing podcast session, so one thing to focus on. So if you're, it's a quick fire round. If you want to grow, if a consultant wants to grow the business, what's the single most important thing that they should focus on?
Network.
Okay, brilliant. One mistake to avoid. What's the one mistake HR consultants keep making that holds them back?
Stop being busy to avoid getting out there and network.
Yeah, love it. And one mindset shift. So what's the mindset shift that changes everything?
Remember, you're worth it.
Brilliant. I love that. So if anyone's listening and thinking, this is exactly where I'm at, how can they connect with you, Sam, and learn more about your business club and your masterclasses?
Follow me on LinkedIn. I pretty much live there. So I do practice what I preach there. Reach out. Let's have a chat.
Mm,
Always open to that connection piece
yeah.
and giving you advice. And yes, happy to share how we can support you, be that through our business club. If you've got a few clients now and you're looking to go to the next stage, let's talk about our mastermind or our one-to-one support. The bottom line is, we'll meet you where you're at. We don't believe in processing any individual.
Okay. And obviously, if you're unable to find Sam Eaton on LinkedIn, you can always contact me and I can put you in touch with her. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining me on the Sound HR podcast. It's been super interesting and honestly, genuinely enlightening.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's
Yeah.
lovely to be here today.
Thanks to all of you for listening to the Sound HR podcast. Make sure you join me for episode 9, where I'll be speaking with Aaron Windram from AHR about AI compliance in the UK, a conversation that's going to be incredibly relevant for every HR consultant right now.